Leonardo da Vinci, the making of the painting Mona Lisa, from 1503 to 1506. Welcome to a journey through time and canvas. A painting, once confined to a Florentine workshop, now a staggering $860 million masterpiece in the Louvre. That's the Mona Lisa. But our lens zeroes in on just the years 1503 to 1506, the electric period when Leonardo da Vinci forged this enigma. Our mission? To unpack the artistry, the emotion, and the choices that led to the creation of this iconic work. To help us navigate, we have Dr. Emily Green, a seasoned art historian, a fictional character. Buckle up, we're about to delve deep into the realm of artistic brilliance. Part 1: The Inception of Mona Lisa Painting and Inside Leonardo's Mind. Picture this: Florence, 1503. A city that is the epitome of Renaissance grandeur and intellectual ferment. But amidst this grandeur, in a Tuscan home with walls adorned with fabrics from the Orient, two men are about to engage in a project that would immortalize them both: Francesco del Giocondo and Leonardo da Vinci. Why would Leonardo, who has already tasted the grandeur of Medici patronage and crafted masterpieces for the religious and political elite, agree to paint a mere merchant's wife? Francesco's dowry for Lisa was only 170 florins, a relatively modest sum. Was the price for the painting comparable?
Many speculate Leonardo might have been paid between 300 to 400 florins for the Mona Lisa. He was already an established artist and could demand such prices.
We do know Leonardo was experimenting with new forms of portraiture. Francesco's home, filled with art from the likes of Domenico Ghirlandaio, may have inspired Leonardo to explore the possibilities of a more intimate form of expression. Think of Lisa, the muse of this story. Aged 24, already a mother of 5. She was not just a prop but a living, breathing woman caught in a tapestry of social expectations and personal hopes.
What's crucial to understand here is that Lisa wasn't just a subject. She was an active participant in this artwork. Her social standing, her role as a mother, and her responsibilities in a 16th century Florentine home, all these contextual elements contribute to the painting's layered complexity.
Was this painting about capturing Lisa, or was it about transcending her individuality to reflect something greater about the human experience?
In a letter to his patron, Ludovico Sforza, Leonardo once wrote, "I wish to work miracles." With Lisa, Leonardo saw a doorway to a different kind of miracle, capturing the essence of humanity in a mere 30 inches of poplar wood.
Let's not forget, Leonardo was, at this point, deeply immersed in anatomical studies. He had dissected both humans and animals, exploring the mechanics of movement, form, and structure. This wasn't merely a painting for him, it was an interdisciplinary experiment. By saying yes to Francesco, by choosing Lisa, Leonardo wasn't just taking on another job. He was taking a monumental step in what could be considered the integrated study of art and human psychology, long before the term psychology was even coined. Part 1 continues deep inside Leonardo's mind. So what was swirling through Leonardo's intricate mind as he took on this work? We often see him as a detached genius, so wrapped up in his scientific endeavors that the concept of emotion might appear secondary. But could it be that he invested emotionally in the Mona Lisa in a way that he hadn't in earlier works?
Leonardo was a man of introspection, and his diaries are a testament to his ceaseless questioning of both the natural world and human experience. His studies on facial expressions and emotions show a deep desire to understand not just the how but also the why of our existence. Leonardo was grappling with some existential questions at this time, delving into areas like anatomy, fluid dynamics, and even flight. The Mona Lisa wasn't just another commission, it was an opportunity to synthesize his multiple obsessions, his diverse avenues of inquiry, into a single, harmonious work of art.
Imagine him, then, standing before the canvas, brush in hand, his sketches and anatomical studies strewn about the studio. This wasn't just a portrait session, it was a rendezvous with the complexities of human life itself. What we see in Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile or the ethereal background is not just Lisa's story, but also the imprints of Leonardo's own searches, questions, and perhaps, his own yearnings. Let's not underestimate the emotional toll such a work might have on the artist. Creating the Mona Lisa wasn't just an intellectual or artistic endeavor, it was a deeply emotional journey. Every brushstroke was informed not just by scientific acumen or artistic skill, but by a rich emotional tapestry that only Leonardo could weave. Part 2, Artistic Conception, the Workshop, the Canvas, and Leonardo's Quest for Perfection. Step with me into Leonardo's sanctum, a place echoing with the silent conversations of an inquisitive mind. On easels and tables lay myriad canvases and sketches, while the pungent aroma of oil and linseed hangs heavy in the air. This is no ordinary workshop, it's a laboratory for dissecting the enigma of human experience.
Leonardo's workshop wasn't just filled with art, it contained devices of his own making, hydrometers, anemometers, and early prototypes of flying machines. His obsession with mechanics and motion had a significant impact on how he approached art.
Imagine Leonardo at this moment, sleeves rolled, eyes flickering between life and parchment. He hesitates as his hand hovers above the paper, poised between revelation and doubt. Leonardo, the polymath, was not just an artist, but a scientist, a philosopher, and an inventor. He believed in the unity of nature and art. He wasn't just about to paint a portrait, he was on the cusp of synthesizing his understandings of natural philosophy, anatomy, and art into a single creation. Leonardo's sketches, the earlier incarnations of the Mona Lisa, become a palimpsest of revisions. Eyes, mouths, hands, each feature is redrawn, adjusted, perfected. It's as if he's not just sketching a face, but mapping a landscape of emotions.
Leonardo actually pioneered caricature exaggerated portraits to study facial expressions. His detailed anatomical studies, down to the muscles that control the smallest of facial movements, allowed him to render expressions with unprecedented accuracy.
This brings us to one of the most enigmatic aspects, her smile. Was it a spontaneous expression captured in a fleeting moment? Or was it a calculated decision, a coded message? In many ways, the choice of a smile echoes the dual nature of the Renaissance, simultaneously an era of scientific inquiry and one rife with belief in the mystical. Leonardo could have easily painted her with a neutral expression, but he chose ambiguity, complexity, a smile that's been the subject of interpretation for centuries.
Leonardo's quest wasn't simply to represent Lisa but to delve into what makes us fundamentally human. Each preliminary sketch was a sandbox for his musings, a crucible where art and intellect fused to create something transcendent. It was more than just preparatory work, it was a journey into the complexities of the human condition.
So when we look at these early sketches, when we see Leonardo wrestling with posture, expression, and form, we are witnessing an internal dialogue that transcends time. It's Leonardo asking questions that we still ask today. What defines us? What elevates us? And can that essence ever truly be captured? Part 2 continues, deep inside Leonardo's mind. Now consider Leonardo, the eternal tinkerer, who couldn't resist adding layers of innovation even when he was replicating natural forms. As he sketched Lisa, what weight of expectation did he feel?
There's documentation showing Leonardo often left projects unfinished because he was unsatisfied with the results. He was his own harshest critic, a perfectionist driven by insatiable curiosity.
It wasn't just about replicating Lisa's likeness on canvas, it was about capturing her essence, her soul. Leonardo's emotional investment in the work was palpable. He wasn't just creating art, he was engaged in a deep, spiritual exploration. If you could walk beside Leonardo as he painted, you'd probably feel the tension in the room, almost like an electrical charge. Each brushstroke was a moment of decision, each hue a philosophical choice.
In the Mona Lisa, Leonardo used sfumato, a technique that allowed for gradual transitions between colors and tones. This wasn't just an artistic choice, it was also an emotional one, echoing his belief that life itself is full of ambiguities and subtleties.
Could this technique have been an attempt to grapple with the fluid nature of identity, both his and Lisa's? With each brushstroke, he wasn't just shaping her image, he was also, perhaps unknowingly, painting a self-portrait of the artist as a seeker, as an eternal student of the human experience. This struggle, this quest for perfection, says as much about Leonardo as it does about the art he produced. It's a psychological tapestry that weaves through every inch of the painting, making it an eternal dialogue between the viewer and the visionary, the created and the creator. Part 3, The Techniques, the secrets behind Mona Lisa's smile, how Leonardo used both art and science. The magic didn't merely happen, it was meticulously crafted. Picture Leonardo in his workshop, a place resembling more an alchemist's lab than an artist's studio. The air hangs heavy with the scent of oils and minerals. On his palette, a chemistry of pigments awaits transformation.
Leonardo wasn't just relying on intuition, he was applying empirical research. He wrote extensively on the science of painting, on the movement of light, the anatomy of the human body, and even on the geometry of the world around us.
One word, sfumato. It's an Italian term that literally means smoked. But in Leonardo's hands, it became a medium for mirroring the very act of seeing, of capturing those ineffable shifts between light and shadow, the corporeal and the ethereal. What's truly remarkable is how Leonardo's interest in optics, seen in his studies of how the eye processes light, influenced his use of sfumato. It wasn't just an artistic choice, it was an application of scientific understanding to create a lifelike experience for the viewer. You see, the Mona Lisa isn't merely a pretty face, she's anatomically flawless. Every feature, from the curve of her lips to the drape of her garment, is a testament to Leonardo's exhaustive studies in human anatomy.
Leonardo had dissected cadavers to understand muscle groups and even the mechanics of the smile. So, when you look at the Mona Lisa's grin, you're not just looking at a painterly choice, but at a rigorously studied anatomical representation.
Then we have the backdrop, a landscape as enigmatic as the subject herself. Winding rivers, jagged cliffs, and a sky tinged with otherworldly hues. It's as though Leonardo has transplanted her into a universe born from imagination, seasoned with observations from his travels. It's often overlooked, but Leonardo was a pioneer in geological studies. He observed sedimentary rocks and was intrigued by the forces that shaped the landscape. This wasn't just a random selection of scenery, but a studied choice that represented his broader inquiries into nature. Finally, that inscrutable smile, an artistic and anatomical marvel that has baffled and fascinated viewers for centuries. It's a living enigma, wrought from the perfect balance of light and shadow, the subtlety of form, and, of course, the genius of its creator.
Some experts speculate that Leonardo employed la bella mano, or the beautiful hand, a technique involving the skillful manipulation of oil and tempera to create translucent layers, adding depth to her smile.
In the end, what we have in the Mona Lisa is a convergence of Leonardo's polymathic brilliance, where art and science, anatomy and aesthetics, empirical observation and creative imagination all converge. Each technique was not just a method, but a dialogue between differing realms of knowledge. The Mona Lisa is not just a portrait, but a nexus where multiple fields of Leonardo's expertise meet. It stands as a testament to the Renaissance ideal of the universal man, skilled in a range of disciplines. In painting the Mona Lisa, Leonardo wasn't just creating art, he was advancing a holistic view of human understanding. Part 3 continues, deep inside Leonardo's mind. Now, let's delve into the alchemy of creation itself. Imagine Leonardo, the proverbial Renaissance man, grinding minerals, mixing pigments, and testing their interactions with various oils. A painting for him wasn't just art, it was chemistry.
In fact, He was one of the first to adopt oil-based pigments in Italy. They took longer to dry than tempera, but the depth and luminosity they offered were unparalleled.
Leonardo was always a step ahead, even in his choice of materials. The longer drying time allowed him to blend colors seamlessly, giving the Mona Lisa its dreamlike quality. Let's talk about the underpainting, an initial layer that set the tonal composition of the work. Leonardo used a monochromatic underpainting technique to establish the painting's 3D forms before adding color.
It's essentially a grayscale version of the final painting. Leonardo's focus on this initial layer indicates how deeply scientific his approach was. He was building the Mona Lisa, almost like an architect, from the ground up.
You may wonder, why is the Mona Lisa devoid of eyebrows? Well, that's another layer of mystery. Some say it was a fashion trend of the time, while others argue that Leonardo, ever the perfectionist, considered the painting incomplete and hence never got around to it. This seemingly minor detail serves as a reminder of Leonardo's relentless quest for perfection, a quest that often led him to leave works unfinished. In a way, it adds another layer of humanity to the painting. It's a masterpiece, yet it's not perfect. Let's move on to the horizon in the backdrop, a seemingly insignificant detail, but upon closer inspection, it's a lesson in the laws of perspective.
Notice how the horizon lines up with Lisa's eyes, grounding her in the environment and giving the illusion that she changes gazes as you move. Leonardo is playing with our perception, making the Mona Lisa an interactive experience.
The techniques Leonardo employed were not mere tasks in a to-do list, they were a series of intentional decisions, each adding a layer of complexity to the Mona Lisa. With each stroke, he was not only breathing life into his art, but also challenging existing norms of what art could, or should, be. Leonardo's techniques were an extension of his worldview. Each choice was a standalone marvel, yet it also fit into a grand scheme that aimed to unlock the mysteries of nature and human existence. In short, Leonardo was doing more than just painting a portrait, he was authoring a complex narrative of human understanding through the language of art. Part 4, Lasting Questions, The Unfinished Puzzle, Why Mona Lisa Remains an Enigma. For over 5 centuries, Leonardo and his enigmatic subject have been locked in a silent dialogue, forever paused but never concluded. While historical documents suggest the painting was commissioned by Francesco del Giocondo, it was never delivered, never signed, and never dated. What could keep an artist from finishing what is considered his magnum opus? While some have romanticized the notion that Leonardo's quest for artistic perfection left him forever unsatisfied, we must remember that he was an inventor, a scientist, and a polymath. His mind was a labyrinth of ideas. Could it be that he saw in the Mona Lisa an evolving experiment, constantly updated as he gathered new insights into human anatomy, optics, or even psychology?
Leonardo's notebooks reveal he was preoccupied with capturing emotions and expressions, something he referred to as the motions of the mind. The Mona Lisa may have become a sort of living lab for these explorations.
Who was this woman who commanded such attention from one of the greatest minds in history? Is she Lisa del Giocondo? Is she a synthesis of multiple figures? Or perhaps an archetype that took form from the depths of Leonardo's consciousness?
Art detectives have gone to great lengths to identify her, using facial recognition algorithms on Renaissance portraits and even exhuming graves. And yet, she remains elusive.
This painting isn't just a work of art, it's a magnet for questions that swarm around it like bees to nectar. Is it plausible that Leonardo intentionally designed this enigma, challenging us to look beyond the surface, to question, to wonder? The true brilliance may lie in its intentional ambiguity. In our data-driven age, where answers are often a click away, the Mona Lisa resists easy explanations. She compels us to be comfortable with uncertainty, to accept that some questions have multiple answers, or perhaps none at all. To stand before the Mona Lisa is not merely to view a painting, but to engage in a dialogue that transcends time. It's an open invitation to journey into the complexities of human emotion, the audacity of artistic innovation, and the ever-present mystery that hovers between the known and the unknowable. While art and science have progressed leaps and bounds, the Mona Lisa endures as an ageless enigma. She's both an echo of a moment in Renaissance Florence and a perpetual, universal question about identity, expression, and the untold depths of human complexity. Leonardo may have left us with a riddle, but it's one that we're all richer for having the chance to ponder. Part 5, The Endless Echo, Mona Lisa's Lasting Impact on Culture and Imagination. While time surges forward like a relentless river, the Mona Lisa remains an unchanging island in its midst. Despite being over half a millennium old, her image has seeped into every crevice of our culture, from Shakespearean sonnets to pop songs, from high art galleries to the screens of our smartphones.
In the age of digital reproduction, her face has become a canvas for the world's collective imagination, turned into political memes, fashion statements, and even satire. Yet, each iteration, each meme, and parody only drives us back to the original. It's as if Leonardo planted a seed that grew into a tree with countless branches.
And isn't that fascinating? Despite its countless adaptations and interpretations, each one serves only as a refracted echo, a distant relative of Leonardo's original revelation. A piece so complex, it's almost as if it has a life of its own, evolving, adapting, eluding any singular narrative or explanation. Could it be that this is precisely what Leonardo intended? A multi-layered masterpiece that isn't meant to be solved, but eternally explored. Leonardo's own notes reveal his obsession with motion and multiplicity, and isn't that what the Mona Lisa, in her endless forms, truly represents?
The painting was groundbreaking in the way it engaged viewers. It challenged the norms of portraitures of its time, which were often stiff, emotionless. Mona Lisa looks out at us, involves us, and each interpretation, each echo, becomes a dialogue with her, across time and space.
As we stand before her, captivated by the silent eloquence of her smile and the complex interplay of light and shadow, we realize that the real Mona Lisa exists not just on that canvas. She exists in our collective imagination, in the myriad questions she provokes, and in the diverse answers she inspires. And so, every glance we throw her way becomes a mirror reflecting our own quest for understanding, our own dance with the mysteries of human creativity and emotion. What Leonardo painted over 500 years ago wasn't just a woman, but a puzzle, a challenge, an eternal echo that resounds in the chambers of human history, calling us to ponder, explore, and forever remain in awe. Part 6, Conclusion, the Mona Lisa's Invitation to Inquiry and Reflection. As we draw this exploration to its close, let's not overlook the profound metamorphosis that unfolded between 1503 and 1506. Those years were not mere ticks on a timeline, they were a crucible of human ingenuity that would forge one of the world's most enigmatic pieces of art.
The Mona Lisa isn't just an art piece, she is a cultural phenomenon. She's inspired poetry, fashion, and even social movements. Her existence asks more of us than mere observation, she asks for contemplation, for interaction. She is a dialogue that transcends time and place, inviting everyone into the conversation. What you're looking at isn't just the genius of Leonardo da Vinci crystallized in oil and pigment. It's an evolutionary leap in the way we approach art and humanity. His fusion of technique and emotion, of meticulous anatomy and ethereal beauty, marks a moment where art became more than art. It became a lens through which we can explore the uncharted terrains of human existence.
So, as you find yourself entranced by the Mona Lisa's inscrutable smile, or intrigued by the dreamy landscapes that stretch beyond her, consider turning that reflective gaze inward. For perhaps the greatest riddle isn't who Mona Lisa is, but who Leonardo was transforming into as he conjured her into existence. What labyrinth of questions and revelations guided his masterful hand? Leonardo's Mona Lisa acts as a mirror, not just for the artist, but for all of humanity. It beckons us to ask deeper questions about existence, about art, and about the indelible marks we leave behind. It's not just about answering questions, it's about learning to ask the right ones. And so, dear viewer, as this chapter comes to a close, understand that the story is far from over. The Mona Lisa isn't merely a portrait on a wall, she is a perpetual dialogue, one that challenges us, taunts us, and invites us into a timeless dance of inquiry and wonder. Our role in this never-ending conversation is not just to look, but to see, not just to wonder, but to question. And that, in essence, is an invitation that echoes across the centuries, as enigmatic and enduring as the Mona Lisa herself.